so again, me and my sister went on the bus, and it was like a fancy bus. Like at first, I thought it would be like a typical yellow school bus, but nah. Since we're going to like New York City, like this was a fancy bus. It was so comfy. And again, like one of the highlights of the trip, even though I forgot to mention in my cheat sheet, but probably don't need that later. But since I got this, so like it was a fancy bus. Like the cushions were so comfy. It was a fancy bus, and you can like lift your legs up or something like that. I forgot to mention, but and like I had a blanket on, so like just in case if we went to sleep, since it's a long ride to New York, like from Michigan to New York. So yeah, it was a fancy bus, like freaking fancy. Again, like I try to put a comedic mood to this dark time, but yeah, it was a fancy bus. Like I was like smack the behind out of it. Like that was the highlight of it. Like I'd rather go to freaking Las Vegas and marry that bus. Like why did we go to a trip to Las Vegas? Since I rather go to Las Vegas than New York City, so I could go to like Las Vegas and marry that bus on the spot, since it was a fancy bus. And so while the bus started moving, like at the start of the trip, like the whole bus, like the monitor turned on, and we were watching Groundhog Day for some reason. And I'm not sure if this happened at the beginning of the trip or at the beginning of the end of the trip. But like this part, as minor as it may sound, like it's very necessary for what happens at the end of the trip, and why it turned out to be a total nightmare. So I grabbed out my notebook and started doodling some pictures and stuff. And one of the teachers points out how like what am I doing, and so I'm just saying like I'm doodling out pictures, and like don't forget that part, since it's necessary for what happened at the end of the trip. Just remember that in my notebook I was doodling pictures. And this will just tie into like the joke I mentioned over here, since I'm not gonna forget this joke. But just don't forget that the teacher saw me as I was doodling some pictures, and I told the teacher that I was doodling pictures. Like don't forget that minor detail. It will come back and bite me in the butt. Trust me. And if you're curious, like I still have that doodling notebook today upstairs in my room. It was red, but I don't really use it anymore, since it brings back Vietnam flashbacks. So yeah, like the start of the trip, the start of the trip wasn't really that bad, still supposed to like have this positive mindset, and like don't mind if I skip some part of the trip, since like this happened only 4 years ago, so don't mind if I skip some part of the trip, also because I only want to mention, some of the interesting details that happened, and, some of, like, both the dark times, like, especially the dark times, but, some highlights of the trip that I remembered, since, not everything's supposed to suck. And so, like, at first, those girls were, just typically nice, like, just typically, nice to me, I guess, to say that. I mean, everyone's pretty much nice to me. Like back then, I thought, everyone was my friend, especially like in elementary school. Man, I miss those times where, I thought, everyone liked me and everyone was my friend. And yeah, it's just, like that same situation where, it's just like, yeah. So, like, this is not new to me. Like, everyone's usually nice to me at school. So it's just like, I mean, there's some people, but, like most of all, probably because, I'm so quiet at school, people are usually nice, and, they're just, typically nice, I guess. Like, that's nothing new, okay? And so, like, so far, like, at the start, I did not have a problem with those girls. And, like, they were just, like, the typical nice. Like, that's just it. Since I've seen the people treat me like that before, everyone's nice, so, it's just nice. That's it. And so, it was like, like, finding out groups, finding out, new friends, and, them being nice. I said, like, again, nice, I guess helping with each other bags, if I remember. Again, I'm trying to remember the trip, since, like, they were just a typical nice. We were getting situated, in our room of, where we were staying, and this was the first time where I realized that those girls were trying to like baby me and stuff. Like for example, like took a tour and like one of the girls like showed me how to use the shower even though I already know how to use the shower. Like it's nothing new. Like I like they taught me like they thought like they thought they could teach me how to use a shower and when I just whoop and then they were just like good job and it was just like what the frick like that was the real red flag. And so afterwards, like again, I'm gonna be like skipping to some parts. So like we were at the gift shop and like one of the girls like they thought that she thought that I needed to hold her hand and again, like they act like they were babysitting me. Like I probably have to mention this like more times that I was 12 at the time. I can't really do this with my fingers, but I was 12 at the time. Like I was the same age as those girls, and they were treating me like I was just a child that they need to babysit. And so like she tried to like hold my hand, like come on, Brittany, or something like that. And like even when I tried to refuse, she's just like come on. And like unfortunately, like this only happened once on the trip. I'm sorry, that's like a YouTube notification there. Just this only happens once on the trip. Once. Where like her mom, which was our chaperone, actually stood up for me and was like, like I forgot their exact words by the way, but I think she was like, I think she can handle this on her own and she doesn't need you to hold her hand or something like that. Like her mom, which was our chaperone by the way, actually stood up for me. The only time someone on this trip actually stood up for me was her mom, which was our chaperone. And so, like she listened to her mom and, just let me go. Despite some, arguments between them, like she just, listened. And so at the gift shop, like my mom said that I should have bought, souvenirs and magnets, and so I did. I bought this New York magnet that, hung up in like the downstairs refrigerator the basement refrigerator since only the basement refrigerator is magnetic, not the downstairs refrigerator. Only the basement refrigerator is magnetic. So like we hung up this New York magnet up on the basement refrigerator, and so like this is what I bought. And also I got this headband at the trip as well. It's like a headband, that's it. Like I bought this at the New York trip, so one of the highlights is this headband. I also bought like this like cool, like it was like a soft cool lavender jacket or purple jacket. It's like purple and lavender, something like that. It was a purple jacket that I used to have, but I lost it quickly since I left it at some adventure camp I went. Like I left it there. I even saw like while driving back home, I saw the jacket that I left there. I just left it at camp and I never seen it ever again. And I love that jacket. I have a photo of me wearing it, I think. Let me check. And also, I bought another souvenir for the trip. Like it's upstairs. It's in my room where I had like this. Like this was during when we get to like view the Statue of Liberty. Like I had like this little bottle. Like it's a little cork bottle, like play bottle with the Declarations of Independence. And I opened the cork and it has, that's it, the mini Declarations of Independence, like a mini bottle. And I still have it up in my room. I don't know if I lost it or I'm too lazy to bring it down, but I have it, and it's a souvenir that I got, by the way. Again, we're going to skip to like this is between like one of the highlights and one of the red flags of this trip.